Alright, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be breaking down the NBA slate for Wednesday, March 8th. Once again, I want to thank you guys for killing the ratings on yesterday's video. At the time I'm recording this video, yesterday's video has 84 likes. I only asked for 50 likes and you guys got me 84. So thank you guys so much for that. Let's try and shoot for over 100 likes on today's video. That would absolutely make my day. I think we can do it. So if you enjoy the video, please be sure to drop a like. And yeah, let's go and get started with today's breakdown. Alright, starting off at point guard, your top point guard on today's slate is James Harden. He gets a bad matchup against Utah. Utah's a really good defensive team, and they play at a slow pace. This is an 11-game slate, so I'm not going to be targeting Harden on this slate. At $62, he has to get you close to 60 fantasy points to pay off his price tag, and I don't think he's going to be able to do that against the Jazz, so I'm not going to be on Harden on this slate. I think you can fade him. There are other studs worth paying up for, so I don't like Harden. Under him, you got Steph Curry against Boston. I really like Curry in this matchup at home against the Celtics. The Celtics are really bad defensively against the point guard. Isaiah Thomas is a really bad defender. But the only thing that keeps me away from Curry is his price tag. At $52, I think he is way overpriced. If he was a little bit cheaper, I would really like him in this matchup. But at $52, he has to get you close to 60 fantasy points to pay off that price tag. And even in this good matchup, I don't think it's likely that he gets over 60. So I'm not going to be on Curry just because of his price. I think he's way overpriced. I'm not going to be on him on Yahoo, but on other sites, I don't know what his price is on other sites, but on Yahoo, he's not in play for me at $52. I think there are other studs worth paying up for at that price tag, so I don't like Curry just based on his price. But this is a really good matchup. Under him, you got John Wall against Denver. If you're going to pay up at point guard, I think Wall should be the guy you target on Yahoo. I would much rather pay $51 for John Wall than pay $52 for Steph Curry. Wall is just an overall better consistent player. He just does more. He'll get points, rebounds, assists, steals. He'll pretty much do everything. So if you're paying up at point guard on today's slate, I like John Wall even at $51. This is a really good up and pace matchup against the Nuggets. So I like John Wall if you're going to pay up at point guard. He's definitely in play. Another guy I really like is Isaiah Thomas against Golden State. But the same thing goes with him that I said for Steph Curry. I don't really like Thomas's price tag at $48. With that price tag, he has to get you over 50 fantasy points to pay that off. And even in this good up and pace matchup, I don't know if he can do that. So for that reason, I'm not going to be on Thomas just because of his price. I think he's way overpriced. If he was a little bit cheaper, I would really like him in this matchup. But at $48, he's not going to be in play for me. Chris Paul against Minnesota. I really like this matchup. Paul has been playing pretty well lately. So if you want to pay up at point guard, I like CP3 even at $46. He can pay that off given this matchup. Minnesota really struggles defensively against the point guard, so I like Paul even at $46. I think he's in play. Kemba against Miami. I really like this matchup for Kemba. His price has increased a little bit to $41, but he has been playing very well as of late. He scored over 40 fantasy points in 5 straight games. So if you're looking for a mid-range point guard, I like Kemba at only $41. I still think he can pay off that price tag given the matchup, so I like him. On the other side of that game, I really like Goran Dragic against Charlotte. Tyler Johnson is currently questionable for this game, and if Johnson does not play, that really helps Dragic. That gives him a little bit of extra boost. Dragic has also been very consistent as of late, and he is pretty cheap at only $33. So I really like him if you're looking for a mid-range point guard. He's just been playing very well. He can easily pay off that price tag given this matchup. And especially if Tyler Johnson is out, that really helps Dragic. That'll give him some extra run, some extra minutes. So I really like Dragic at the mid-range. He's definitely in play. Drew Holiday against Toronto. I like this matchup for Holiday. He's going to be guarded by Cory Joseph, and he should be able to dominate that matchup. I don't know if I'm going to target Holiday on this slate, though, at $32. I think if I'm going to attack that price range, I'd find the extra dollar to get to Dragic. So I'm not going to be on Holiday on this slate, but this is a really good matchup. He should be able to dominate against Cory Joseph. But if I'm going to attack that price range, I'm just going to find the extra dollar for Dragic. Jeff Teague against Detroit, I'm probably not going to go there. Like I said with Holiday, if I'm attacking that price range, I'm just going to find the extra dollars and get to Dragic. And Detroit does play pretty good defense against the point guard, so I don't like Teague on the slate. Ricky Rubio against the Clippers. Rubio has been playing very well as of late, and he is really cheap at only $28. But this is a really bad matchup. Chris Paul is a really good defender. He's one of the best point guard defenders in the league. I still do think Rubio's in play at $28. He's just way too cheap with the way he's been playing. But I don't know if he really has that 40-point upside that you're looking for against the Clippers. He's gonna have a tough time going against CP3. But I do think he can get you 30 fantasy points in this matchup, so he's worth that play at $28. But if I'm going to attack that price range, I would just take the guy under Rubio at $1 cheaper, and that's Dennis Schroder against the Nets. One thing to take note of, Schroder was benched in Monday's game against Golden State because him and Dwight Howard got in an argument on the court. Schroder is not expected to be suspended or anything, so he should be playing for this game. If he does play, I really like him at only $27. He's just way underpriced. He's been crushing value lately, and given this matchup against the Nets, I think Schroder is a terrific play at the mid-range. He's definitely going to be a point guard I target on this slate. He should easily be able to get you 30 fantasy points given the matchup, so at only $27, I think Schroder is a terrific play on Yahoo. He's definitely going to be a point guard I target. And some point guards on the cheap end I like. I really like Reggie Jackson against Indiana. Jackson is starting to play well. In his last 2 games, he's put up 29 and 37 fantasy points and played 25 and 31 minutes. There's really only 2 outcomes when rostering Reggie Jackson. He's either going to get you 15 to 20 fantasy points or he's going to get you 30 to 40 fantasy points. So for that reason, I don't think you're going to roster Jackson for cash games. But for tournaments, he does have that good 40-point upside that you're looking for. And given this matchup against Indiana, I like him. So if you need a point guard on the cheap end for tournaments, I really like Reggie Jackson. He could easily go off for 30 to 40 fantasy points against the Pacers. They're really bad defensively against the point guard. So I like Reggie Jackson for tournaments, but I wouldn't use him in cash just because he's too inconsistent. Also like Malcolm Brogdon at only $17 against the Knicks. Brogdon's just really had to step up ever since Michael Beasley got injured. He started to play heavy minutes, and he's been playing very well. So if you need a cheap point guard on this slate, I like Brogdon. He should easily be able to get you 20 to 25 fantasy points, which is good for his $17 price tag. So I like him on the cheap end. Also like Cory Joseph against the Pelicans. Joseph just had to really step up ever since Kyle Lowry got injured. Joseph's going to play over 30 minutes just about every night. And he's really underpriced on Yahoo at only $14. So I also like Cory Joseph for value. He shouldn't have a problem getting you over 20 fantasy points in this matchup. So if you need a value point guard, I'm really liking Cory Joseph as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it for point guard. Let's go ahead and move on to shooting guard. Alright, your top shooting guard on this slate is DeMar DeRozan. He gets a really good matchup against the Pelicans. They don't guard the shooting guard very well. But I'm not going to be on DeRozan on this slate, especially not at $47. He's just way overpriced. He has to get you over 50 fantasy points to pay off that price tag. And even with Kyle Lowry out, I don't think DeRozan's going to be able to do that. So I don't like him on this slate just because of his price. I think he's way too expensive. I think there are other studs worth paying up for. So I don't like DeRozan just because of his price. Nick Batum against Miami. I like this matchup for Batum if you're looking to pay up. Miami doesn't guard the shooting guard well. Batum is pretty cheap at only $33. So if you want to pay up at shooting guard, I think he is in play. He can easily get over 30 fantasy points in this matchup. But if I look to pay up at shooting guard, I'm just going to take the guy under Batum, and that's Bradley Beal against Denver. Beal has just been on an absolute tear lately, and he is also way underpriced at only $32. And given this matchup against Denver, I think Bradley Beal is a terrific play on this slate. He's just way too cheap. He shouldn't have a problem paying off that price tag given this up and pace matchup. But if I pay up at shooting guard, Bradley Beal is going to be a guy I target. I think he's a terrific play at that price tag. At that same price tag, you got Klay Thompson against Boston. I don't think I'm going to go there on that slate. If I'm going to pay that price tag for a shooting guard, I would much rather have Bradley Beal. And Thompson's going to have to deal with Avery Bradley's defense, and Bradley is a really good defender. So I don't like Thompson on this slate, especially not at $32. Will Barton against Washington. I don't think I'm going to go there on this slate. Barton's price has decreased a little bit, but he's really been struggling, so I don't like him. That same price tag, you got Avery Bradley against Golden State. I really like this matchup for Bradley if he has no minutes restriction. If he's going to play over 30 minutes, then I think Bradley is a really good play at only $22. This is a really good up and pace matchup against the Warriors. So if you need a mid-range shooting guard, I really like Avery Bradley against Golden State. But I wouldn't play Bradley if he's still on a minutes restriction. Be sure to take note of that before you roster him. He did play 26 minutes Monday against the Clippers. So if he plays over 30 minutes, I like him at only $22. I think he's in play. Also like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope against Indiana. Indiana really struggles defensively against the shooting guard. I would only use KCP in tournaments though, because just as you can see on his box score, he is inconsistent. But he does have 30 to 40 point upside in this matchup. So if you need a shooting guard for tournaments, I really like KCP. He could go off in this matchup, but I wouldn't use him in cash games just because he is a little inconsistent. On the cheaper end, I really like Tim Hardaway against Brooklyn. If you need a value shooting guard on this slate, I think Hardaway should be a guy you target. He's been playing very well as of late, and he's been playing pretty heavy minutes. And this is a really good matchup at home against the Nets. The Nets are one of the worst teams defensively, and they play up and pace. Up and pace matchups are the ones that Hardaway usually thrives in because he has to score the ball. So if you need a cheap value shooting guard on this slate, I'm really liking Tim Hardaway at only $17. He should easily be able to pay off that price tag given the matchup against the Nets, so I like him on the cheap end. Another cheap shooting guard I like is Andre Iguodala against Boston. Ever since KD got hurt, Iggy has had to step up and play heavy minutes, and he went off in his last game Monday against Atlanta, scoring 46 fantasy points. If Iguodala is going to play over 30 minutes in this matchup, I really like him at only $11. I think he's a really good value play on this slate. His minutes are starting to trend up in the right direction. And if he gets over 30 minutes, he shouldn't have a problem paying off that cheap $11 price tag. So I also really like Iguodala. If you need some value at shooting guard, I think he's in play, given that cheap price tag. And yeah, that's pretty much it for shooting guard. Let's go and move on to small forward. Alright, your top small forward on this slate is Jimmy Butler. He gets a really good matchup against the Magic. The Magic really struggle defensively against a small forward. I really like Butler in this matchup if Dwayne Wade does not play. D-Wade is currently doubtful for this game, so he's not expected to play. And if he is out, I think Butler is a good play even at $48. With the amount of usage Butler is going to get with no D-Wade, I still like him even with that expensive price tag. He can easily pay that off if D-Wade does not play, so if you're looking to pay up a small forward, I like Jimmy if D-Wade is out. Also under him, I really like Kawhi Leonard against Sacramento. Leonard has just been balling as of late, and he is also underpriced at only $44. Given this matchup against Sacramento, I think Leonard can easily pay off that price tag. He only has to get you 45 fantasy points to pay that off, and he can easily do that against the Kings. So if you want to pay up at small forward, I really like Kawhi Leonard as well. I think he is in play. Under him, you got Carmelo against the Bucks. I don't really think I'm going to be targeting Melo on this slate at $36. I think if I'm going to pay that price tag for a small forward, I'll just take Andrew Wiggins at that same price. Wiggins has just been a lot more consistent than Melo has. Although he has been struggling in his last two games, those were two bad matchups against Utah and San Antonio. I definitely think Wiggins can bounce back in this matchup against the Clippers. So if you're going to pay up at small forward, I like Andrew Wiggins as well. Only at $36, he can pay that price tag off without a problem. Also like Gordon Hayward against Houston. This is a really good up and pace matchup for the Jazz. Hayward doesn't really have that 50 to 60 point upside that you're looking for in tournaments. But for cash games, I do think Hayward is a very good play at only $35. He can easily get you 35 to 40 fantasy points in this up and pace matchup against the Rockets. So if you need a mid-range small forward, I like Gordon Hayward. He should be able to pay off his price tag. Under him, I also like Paul George against Detroit. This isn't a great matchup defensively. Detroit does guard the small forward pretty well, but PG has been playing very well as of late, and he's also very underpriced at only $33. He only has to get you 35 to 40 fantasy points to pay that off, and he can easily do that in this matchup. So also like PG, I think he's way underpriced. He's going to be a small forward I target if I'm looking to pay up. At the mid-range, I really like Marcus Morris against the Pacers. Morris has just been very consistent as of late, and he is really cheap at only $20. He only has to get you 25 fantasy points to pay off that price tag, and he can easily do that given this matchup against Indiana. So if you need a mid-range small forward, I'm liking Marcus Morris. He's just way too cheap, and with the way he's been playing lately, I think he can easily pay off that price tag given this matchup, so I like him at the mid-range. Some guys on the cheaper end I like Khris Middleton against the Knicks. Middleton has also been very consistent as of late, and he is also underpriced at only $19. Given this matchup against the Knicks, I think Middleton can easily pay off his price tag. Although he is on a 30-minute minutes restriction, he can still pay off his price tag in the 30 minutes that he gets. So if you need a small forward at the cheaper end, I'm really liking Khris Middleton against the Knicks. He shouldn't have a problem paying off his price tag given this matchup. And yeah, that's pretty much it for small forward. Let's go ahead and move on to power forward. Your top power forward on the slate is Anthony Davis. He doesn't get that great of a matchup against the Raptors. He's going to have to deal with Serge Ibaka defense, and Ibaka is a good defender. And especially at $54, I don't think I'm going to be targeting AD on this slate. If I want to pay up at power forward, I'm going to take the guy under AD, and that's Giannis Antetokounmpo against the Knicks. The Greek Freak has been struggling as of late, but he's managed to pick it up in his last 3 games, scoring 49, 40, and 51 fantasy points. Given this matchup against the Knicks, I think Giannis is a terrific play at $51. He only has to get you 50 to 55 fantasy points to pay off that price tag, and he shouldn't have a problem doing that given this matchup. The Knicks are terrible defensively, so I really like Giannis on this slate. He's definitely going to be one of the studs I target, especially with that cheap price tag. I think Giannis is a very good play on Yahoo, just given his price and the matchup, so I like him if you're looking to pay up at power forward. Under him, you got Blake Griffin against Minnesota. I don't think I'm going to be targeting Blake on this slate, especially not at $45. He hasn't paid off that price tag in 4 straight games, so I don't think I'm going to be on Blake on this slate. I think he's a little bit overpriced. He has to get you almost 50 fantasy points to pay off that price tag, and he hasn't done that in 4 straight games, so I don't think I'm going to be on Blake on the slate. I think he's a little bit too expensive. Under him, I really like Draymond Green against Boston. Boston really struggles defensively against the power forward. And Draymond has been playing very well as of late ever since KD got hurt. He's really had to step up and do a lot more offensively. So if you need a power forward at the mid-range, I'm really liking Draymond Green. He's definitely going to be a power forward I'd target on this slate. He is also very cheap at only $36 given this matchup. He shouldn't have a problem getting you over 35 to 40 fantasy points. So if you need a power forward at the mid-range, I like Draymond. Also like Paul Millsap against the Nets. Millsap is also very underpriced at only $33 given this matchup. He's paid off his price tag in 5 straight games. So I also really like Paul Millsap at only $33. He shouldn't have a problem paying off that cheap price tag given the matchup against the Nets. So I like Millsap at the mid-range. He's also a very good play on this slate. And some cheaper power forwards I really like Aaron Gordon against the Bulls. Gordon has been playing very well as of late, scoring over 30 fantasy points in his last 3 games. And he's also been playing pretty heavy minutes. So if you're looking for a cheap power forward on this slate, I really like Aaron Gordon. The Bulls really struggle defensively against the power forward. And at only $19, he shouldn't have a problem paying off that cheap price tag. So I like AG at the cheaper end. I think he's a good value play on this slate. And yeah, that's pretty much it for power forward. Let's go ahead and move on to center. Alright, your top center on this slate is Boogie. He doesn't get that great of a matchup against the Raptors. Joe Val is a pretty good defender. And at $56, I don't think I'm going to be targeting Boogie on this slate. He's just way overpriced. He has to get you over 60 fantasy points to pay off that price tag, and I don't think he's going to be able to do that given this matchup, so I don't like Boogie. I'm going to be staying away from him. I just think he's way too overpriced. Under him, you got Karl-Anthony Towns against the Clippers. Also, I'm going to be staying away from Cat. This is a really bad matchup against the Clippers. They're really good defensively down low. DeAndre and Blake are very good defenders. And especially at $49, I don't think I'm going to be targeting Cat on this slate. I think he's a little bit overpriced, so I don't like him either. Nikola Jokic is currently questionable for today's game against the Wizards. If Jokic plays, I really like him if you're looking to pay up at center. This is a really good matchup at home against the Wizards. They really struggle defensively against the center. So if Jokic plays, I really like him even at $48. If you're looking to pay up at center, he would be the guy I target. This is a really good matchup, and he should be able to pay off his price tag. So if you want to pay up at center, I like Jokic. But he is currently questionable, so take note of that. He might not play, but if he does play, I like him. Even at $48, he can pay off his price tag. Under him, you got Hassan Whiteside against Charlotte. I really like this matchup for Whiteside. He's going to go up against Cody Zeller. And Whiteside should be able to dominate in that matchup. So if you need a center at the mid-range, I like Whiteside at only $37. He can easily pay off that price tag in this matchup. He only has to get you 35 to 40 fantasy points to pay that off, and he can easily do that. So I like Whiteside if you're looking to pay up. I think he's a good play on the slate. Also really like Andre Drummond against the Pacers. The Pacers really struggle defensively against the center. And Drummond is also very underpriced at only $32. Before Monday's game against the Bulls, Drummond was playing very well. I do think he can bounce back in this game against the Pacers. I think he should easily be able to get you over 30 fantasy points. So given his cheap price tag, I like Drummond at only $32. He shouldn't have a problem paying that price tag off given this matchup. Under him, I also really like Rudy Gobert against Houston. Houston really struggles defensively against the center. And Gobert has been playing very well in his last 2 games. He scored 57 and 43 fantasy points. So if you need a mid-range center on the slate, I definitely think you should target Rudy Gobert. He should be able to dominate in this up-and-pace matchup. I think he's a lock for a double-double in this game. So if you need a center at the mid-range, I really like Rudy Gobert at only $30. He shouldn't have a problem paying that off given this up-and-pace matchup. Brook Lopez against Atlanta. I don't think I'm going to go there on this slate. Dwight Howard's a pretty good defender. And Lopez has been struggling as of late, so at $27, I don't think Lopez is in play. If you're going to pay that price for a center, I would much rather have DeAndre Jordan at that same price tag against Minnesota. Jordan has just been much more consistent as of late. And at only $27, he only has to get you 30 fantasy points to pay off that price tag. And he can easily do that against Minnesota. They're not great defensively against the center. So if you need a mid-range center on this slate, I like DeAndre Jordan at only $27. He shouldn't have a problem paying off that price tag. Under him, I also really like Dwight Howard against the Nets. If I'm looking to attack the mid-range at center on this slate, Howard's definitely going to be a guy I target. This is a terrific matchup at home against Brooklyn. They really struggle defensively, and they play at a very fast pace. Howard should be able to dominate against Brook Lopez. Lopez is not a good defender. Howard's also underpriced given this matchup. At only $25, he shouldn't have a problem paying off that price tag given the matchup. So I like Howard at the mid-range. I think he's a very good play on the slate. And if you need some value at center, I really like Bismack Biyombo against the Bulls. Nikola Vucevic is currently questionable for this game against the Bulls. If Vuce does not play, then Biyombo is probably one of the best value plays on the slate at the minimum price. He's going to play heavy minutes if Vuce is out. In the last 2 games with Vuce out, Biyombo has played 34 and 41 minutes, and he's put up 35 and 27 fantasy points. So if Vucevic is out, Biyombo should get the start, and he will play heavy minutes. And at the minimum price, I think he's a terrific value play on this slate. So I really like Biyombo at center. If Vucevic is out, I think he's a great value play on this slate. And yeah, that's pretty much it for center. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my starting 5. Alright guys, so this is my starting 5 for the NBA slate on Wednesday, March 8th. If you guys want my full updated lineup before lock, be sure to follow me on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT. If you look in the description, it's the first link in the description. Just click on that and it'll take you to my Twitter page. And send me a message if you want my lineups, and I'll be sure to get them to you before lock. I make lineups on Yahoo, FanDuel, and DraftKings, so if you play on one of those 3 sites, then you can get my lineups. I also post how my lineups are doing on Twitter, so if you want to see that as well, like I said, be sure to follow me on Twitter. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys watching the video. Please be sure to like the video and subscribe if you enjoyed. Let's try and break over 100 likes on today's video. You guys have been killing it lately with the views and ratings, so I really appreciate it, guys. But yeah, if you never want to miss out on a video, please be sure to click the bell icon next to my YouTube name, and you'll get a notification every time I upload. So if you never want to miss out on a video, please be sure to do that. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in tomorrow's video. Good luck.
So back to what I was saying. This could be us, but you playing. This could be us, but you playing. I'm high, but I don't sound crazy. Fuck what the niggas was saying. This could be us, but you playing.